Hey girls, how you all doing? It's Robert here from Body Fit Bootcamp, and today we're going to talk about in this little short video all about cellulite. This might be something that some of you suffer with. It might be that some of you have never had it and may never will. But what I'm basically going to do is just cover exactly how cellulite exists, or why it exists rather, what we can do to get rid of it, and basically how it affects the body in terms of collagen fibres and body fat. So I'm not going to do any video or any slides or such for this little clip that we'll run through just now. I'm just currently on the group page for your group, Sexy Mummy Group. So let's talk about this. Cellulite, what actually is it? In most cases, if we're thinking about the female body, you tend to find it within the back of the legs, the hips, and the bum. Sometimes also the stomach area. But those are the main sort of general areas that you'll find it within a female body. And the reason that it really exists is because, contrary to belief, it's not actually determined by high or low body fat, although lower body fat can lower it slightly. It's more determined by the elasticity of your collagen fibres. Now I can hear you all asking already, what is collagen fibres? Basically, what it is, it's the tautness of your skin and the muscle tissue that's underneath, the muscle tissue that's underneath the skin, and obviously the connective tissue that joins onto the skin, and then the tendons and ligaments, and you've got everything all joining on together. And this is obviously the elasticity of the skin and the underlying tissue. And here's how it works. I want to sort of give you any top fitness professional will always use this analogy of how to envision cellulite. And this is what the analogy is. If you imagine a picket fence, if anybody doesn't know what a picket fence is, it's just simply spars that move up and down, move vertically all the way up and down from top to bottom. And there's a little gap in between each one, so like a picket wooden fence. So you've got a spar, then you've got a gap, you've got another spar, you've got a gap all the way along. Now I want you to imagine if you had like a little, if any of you have got kids, you'll recognise little soft sponge balls and what have you. If you imagine you could put a little soft sponge ball in between each gap, and you could put them all the way up and down between each individual spar, and then you move to the next spar, and then the next gap in between that and the next one, and then you can put more balls in, and so on and so on and so on all the way along. Those little balls represent water pockets, and it's the water pockets within your collagen fibres and within your body fat. So if you see cellulite and it's like you have this sort of like dimply effect, this sort of rippled effect, that's what it is. It's water pockets. Now we can get rid of the water pockets, and I'm going to explain to you in a second how to do that. First, before I do that, I want to explain to you why it's more prevalent in women than what it is in guys. As I've just mentioned, that women tend to have a picket fence in terms of what your body collagen fibres within your body. Guys are slightly different in that they have like a wire mesh fence. So if you imagine like a crisscross pattern, so like diagonally going one way and then overlapping it and underlapping it directly going the opposite way. And what that does is it makes the gap smaller, and it then means that the water pockets or the sponge balls that we used as the analogy, they can't fit inside. So if you imagine at the left hand side of the scale you've got the picket fence, and at the right hand side of the scale you've got the wire mesh fence. Now it's not just guys, you may actually have some friends, or it might even be you, who doesn't have a problem with cellulite at all. And that's just simply genetics more than anything. It simply means that some females tend to move more towards the wire mesh side than what they do to the picket fence side, and that just allows them to have little or no cellulite. Unfortunately, for those of you that do have cellulite, yous are closer towards the picket fence side, and it's just genetics. You've got your mum and dad and their mum and dad and grandparents and blah 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 before that to thank for it. So it's just, we've all got genetics, and we need to kind of fight against them the best way we can. So let's talk about how we can actually get rid of it. You've probably been, some of you have maybe been and used or even heard about heat and cold treatments. And a classic example of that is like hydrotherapy spas and pools and what have you. And basically what that does is in fact, before I tell you what it does, let me explain two different things to you. you've got two different types of fat. You've got visceral fat, and you've got my mentor and client James. Let's just get him away just now. Jeez, I'm getting messaged everywhere. I knew this would happen. You've got two types of fat. You've got visceral fat and you've got subcutaneous fat. Visceral fat is the fat that surrounds your vital organs. And a classic example of this, and one that springs to mind straight away, is a guy with a beer belly. Not necessarily from drinking beer, but just generally speaking, a beer belly. And what I mean by that is it's basically where their belly protrudes right out, and their belly button protrudes out, and their belly's really firm and hard to touch. That's visceral fat, and that's really dangerous. That's the stuff that hugs your vital organs, and is also closely linked to diabetes and heart disease, hypertension, stroke, and a bunch of other things that promote high blood pressure. The other type of fat is subcutaneous fat, and this is the fat that kind of gives you that sort of loose, saggy sort of effect. Now, although it doesn't look too attractive, the good thing with it is that you can get rid of it. The downside of it is that it's slightly harder to get rid of than visceral fat, and here's why. Visceral fat is closer to your vital organs, which means there's a larger blood supply. And with blood goes oxygen, and anything that's oxidized means that it can burn body fat off a lot quicker. Without getting too complex, all you need to know is that it burns body fat quicker with more oxygen. The problem with subcutaneous fat is because it's further away. It's basically if you've ever cut yourself open, your hand, your arm, your leg, or anything, and you can see white stuff underneath the skin and the muscle tissue. That's your adipose tissue. That's your fatty tissue, and more specifically subcutaneous fat. That's the stuff that keeps you warm and sits right underneath your skin. Now, the problem with trying to get rid of this type of subcutaneous fat is that it's further away from your vital organs. So, like your main, obviously, blood supply comes from your heart. So the blood has to travel a long way. And the problem being is that because every single time you move, your body requires blood and oxygen for your muscles to extend and contract, as does your brain need blood and oxygen, all your other vital organs, and amongst a few other things. So your body's constantly working with what's most needed. Is it the vital organs? Is it the muscles that are contracting? Or is it to take it to your body fat? Unfortunately for you, the problem is that your body doesn't see the most importance, or the most important thing is to take it to the subcutaneous fat. As far as your body is concerned, the most important thing is to take it to the vital organs of the body to keep it functioning properly and for daily movement. Because you need to think of it like this: whether you like it or not, your body's sole purpose on God's green earth is to survive. That's all it is to survive. Your body doesn't care about looking good, it doesn't care about feeling good, it's just simply about survival. So hanging on to body fat, although we see it as an unattractive thing, it's survival. So if you were living out in the wild, as an example, like back in hunter-gatherer days, body fat would be a good thing because it would keep you warm, and you would use your fat reserves obviously for a fuel source, if food was hard to come by. The world that we live in, food's readily available, so that's never a problem. The problem that exists for us is obviously trying to get rid of body fat to feel and look more attractive and generally just feel more confident about ourselves. So that's the problem as far as subcutaneous fat is concerned. So what do we actually need to do? Well, your plan of action is this. You need to get more blood and more oxygen to the surface. You need to supply it and get it to the surface a whole lot quicker. And this is where things like I'd mentioned before, your hydrotherapy spas and pools come into action, where they promote hot and cold treatments. So they push blood flow to the system. Anything where you go back to back, which is heat and then cold, heat and then cold, heat and then cold. It promotes blood flow to the system, to the surface of the skin. And obviously with the blood, we remember that we said that oxygen goes with it. And if the oxygen goes with it, it'll break down the tiny fat cells, and then you can dispose them through toxins, and they disappear from the body, and you start to use other fuel sources. So that's kind of how we need to do it. I also want to touch on beauty treatments as an example as well. Just before I get into this, if any of you are involved in the beauty trade or whatever else, I'm not for 1 second slating this. It does work, however my beliefs are that it works temporarily and it needs to be kept on top of all the time. Have you ever been to a spa or a beauty salon or whatever else where they offer like cellulite wraps and deep tissue massage and whatever else. And I'm also qualified in Swedish massage and sports massage, so I understand how it all works. Sports therapy as well, so I get the whole massage therapy type of thing. Um, it's what it basically does. If you go back to this whole picket fence thing, by giving you the deep tissue massage and the cellulite wraps and all the other weird and wonderful things that they've got out there to try and sell you, it it temporarily pushes those little balls out of the little sponge balls out of the picket fence. It pushes them all out. So and remember those are like the water pockets. So it reduces that sort of dimpling effect that you can visually see and the rippling effect. So it looks like the cellulite's disappearing. The problem being, however, is that it's just firefighting. So what it simply does is it pushes the balls out, but it's not stopping the machine or the person who's thrown the balls at the fence. If that makes sense. So the supply where the balls are coming from, it's still being thrown. So it's kind of like you're pushing out 5, but 6 are getting thrown at you. So that's kind of where it's a bit of a problem as far as beauty treatments are concerned, and that it is a short-term method. You can use it, for example, if I don't know, if you have a photo shoot or you put on a dress, you go on a night out, or whatever it may be, you're showing your legs, or it's great for stuff like that. Personally, I don't think it's a long-term solution. So what is the long-term solution? It's a number of things, really, ladies. It's you first of all need to be eating clean, healthy, nutritious food. Um, if you think about things like, do you know how people say, I've ate this organic and I've ate that organic and whatever else? Let me tell you that organic food is not organic. It is just simply food. Anything that is not organic is food is basically chemicals and whatever else pretending to be food. Everything is originally organic. It's just because everything we live in a money world, so everything is mass produced, and the process of how everything's grown, from an animal to a plant to whatever, the process of it to being killed or to cook, to eat, or whatever it may be, from start to end is a lot quicker, obviously for human consumption, because we spend money. And when we spend money, it makes people more rich, and it just continues to go on like that. We live in a money world. It's a sad situation, but it's one of those things. So obviously pesticides and what have you get sprayed in the vegetables to make them, or fruits for that matter, to get them to market a lot quicker, and then they can mass produce more and more and more, and it just keeps cycling like that. Wherever possible, always eat organic stuff if you can. I am aware, however, that it is a money thing for a lot of people, and it can be quite expensive, which is a bit of a shame. It's kind of the government's fault there, but hey, we're not going to get too deep into it. So wherever possible, try and eat organic. Try and eat also things like only grass-fed animals. So if you're eating beef and lamb or anything along those lines that should be eating grass, the difference being is that a lot of, generally speaking, a lot of local farmers do have grass-fed beef and what have you, but a lot of mass-produced stuff, and it tends to be stuff that you get from supermarkets, they get their cattle to eat wheat. And the problem with wheat is that it's an inflammatory causing food within the human body, and this then causes to be stored as a toxin. It takes longer for it to break down. It promotes an inflammatory effect within your intestinal wall, so you don't digest food as quick. Generally speaking, it's just not really good for the body. So you want to try and avoid it if possible. But again, I'm aware that it's a whole money situation and everything else. Kind of like slightly off track there. Where are we going? Yeah, so eating clean, healthy food, is really important. Anything that's chemical sort of based, so anything that's got added sugar or salt or aspartame that tends to be in fizzy drinks and stuff like that, you really need to avoid that as much as possible. This will be pretty evident within the individual documents that I'm going to be adding to the group. Water and herbal teas for this 28 days are pretty much going to be your bog standard stuff. You can batter in and you can have alcohol and this, that, and whatever else. Now, I'm not saying don't drink alcohol again. What I am saying is don't drink alcohol for these next 28 days. Because here's the thing. If you drink alcohol, I don't care whether it's beer, I don't care whether it's vodka or Morgans or whiskey or whatever it is. Alcohol in general is a toxin to the body. I enjoy a beer the same as the next person. But you need to be clever about how you're doing this. Remember, your goal here is to be a sexy mummy. So it's to get rid of this belly fat that you may still have from a couple of months to 5 years, whatever it may be. So it's all to reduce the belly fat, as well as amongst a few other things, hip and bum and legs and what have you. But it's all to reduce the body fat in general. You need to eat as much vegetables as possible. This is really hard for some people. Some people are just not used to eating veg at all. If you struggle to eat veg, let me know. I'm going to put a link up in here for a supplement that you can get. It's basically ground down vegetables, and you can drink it in a shot. And it's you kind of have to man up a wee bit when you're drinking it. It's some people don't like it, but I don't know. I'm a bit weird. I think it's not too bad. It's kind of got like a peppermint taste to the end of it, but I think it's okay. And it's the benefits that you're getting from it more than anything. Right, what I want to talk about now is the emotional side of food. And basically, the problem with food is that every food is linked to an emotion. And that we're actually going to cover this properly in the next video. But I just basically want to talk to you just on a brief scale at the moment, just to sort of summarise. As an example, I've just said about the greens drink, so it's like a lot of people don't like it. I've kind of got to a point where I drink it now, because sometimes if I don't get my full veg content, and I know it's important for my health, I need to keep eating veg, and sometimes if I'm working all the time, I really struggle to fit it in between clients and classes and what have you. So I'll just quickly shot it. Now I don't personally link an emotion to drinking it. I don't like it, I don't dislike it, I'm just not emotionally involved. I'm just fully aware of what the impact is that it has on my health, and that's it. It could be, I could hate it more than anything in the world, but I'm not going to moan about it. I just get on with it and just do it, and that's kind of how you have to approach some of this stuff in this program, whether it's exercise based or whether it's nutrition based or even mindset based for that matter. And we're going to cover loads of mindset stuff. You just kind of have to not be emotionally involved and just follow it, and you should be on a winner. That's really all I want to talk about just now, on how to get rid of this whole cellulite thing. There's a lot of other stuff involved, and there'll be more follow-up videos to it as well. There's a lot of other things you can do is in terms of exercise and the supplements that you can take, and the supplements that I've put on the group are specific to cellulite and belly fat. So you definitely want to be taking them if you can afford them. I think it's £35 for all of them in total. If any of you are interested in any fat loss teas, so that's herbal teas, let me know, and I'll put another video up or a post up and links and tell you what you need to get, what the best ones are that can burn specifically belly fat and hip fat. That's all for now. Any questions, whack them up in the group, and I will speak to you shortly. Cheerio.